Good evening, hello and welcome to Brass Tacks. I'm Anusha Soni. The gruesome killing of Shraddha has sent shockwaves across the entire country. The sheer barbarity of the crime makes us cringe. But beyond the gory details and the shock value of this entire crime, there are some crucial questions that must haunt the investigation team. Not to forget that the entire case hinges upon the so-called confession of the accused, Aaftab. He is the alleged killer and the witness against himself in this case. A confession which is right now not admissible in a court of law. There are no eyewitnesses, no murder weapon that has been recovered so far, and the crime happened months ago. With the case relying so heavily on circumstantial evidence, will the police authorities be able to build a watertight case and prove the conviction? Or this will be yet another case lost in sensationalism where the prosecution fails to prove the case beyond reasonable doubt? First up, a special report. The details emerging from the Shraddha murder case continue to get murkier. The police has got further extension for 5-day remand. But the investigation moving forward is going to be an uphill task for the Delhi police. As expected, the investigation will have to piece together key details. Aaftab's confession to his heinous crimes alone won't be enough to prove his guilt.
The police has demanded for the narco test and the court has allowed for the narco test. So the court has asked the consent from the Aaftab and Aaftab has given this consent for the narco test. Police has not able to collect substantial evidence. On that we have Aaftab can be convicted.
Let's have a quick recap of the investigation so far. Aaftab had earlier stated that Shraddha had left him on the 22nd of May, but a transaction of about 54,000 rupees from Shraddha's account to Aaftab on the 26th of May led to this confession. The police has recovered about 10 pieces of body parts. The DNA test and the results are still awaited to confirm if the body parts belong to Shraddha. The police has also identified the vehicle which was used by Aaftab to dispose of her clothes. The narco test will be conducted very soon. But the major challenge here again is that the results are highly unreliable from an evidentiary point of view. The police has also recorded the testimony of Shraddha's doctors, parents and friends. Shraddha's old chats with her manager also reveal how Aaftab physically abused her frequently.
She came to us with a complaint of severe backache and neck pain. She had difficulty in walking and while walking and moving her neck. Within 2 to 3 days, she responded well to treatment and then we discharged her. She was accompanied by that person, that boy, Aaftab. While taking history from the patient, I asked to Shraddha and that boy also, but they didn't tell us any history about any assault or fighting.
The major challenge before the police is now to find some concrete evidence against Aaftab. The police needs to build an airtight case to prove his guilt. And everything in this case will hinge on circumstantial evidence. The key question is, will the police be able to prove this case beyond reasonable doubt and piece together critical evidence against Aaftab? Beyond reasonable doubt and circumstantial evidence, these are the two buzzwords you would hear when you talk about this case. Even if one piece of circumstantial evidence or the chain of events is disproven in a court of law, the entire case falls down like a house of cards. But how is it that the police can prove this conviction in a court of law? We tell you about 3 critical facets of any trial which are very, very crucial to proving a case. First of all, the act of committing the murder, or called the actus reus. Police need to prove that Aaftab strangulated Shraddha. This is a crime that happened in a room in Delhi in Chhatarpur area, and here the crime happened. This is something that they need to establish from an evidentiary point of view, not the mere confession of Aaftab. That is not enough to prove the case. Statement by doctors, parents, friends on how Aaftab had assaulted her. This has also come to light. This is what has been revealed in the investigation so far. And as I said, confession is not proof. It is not admissible. Unless it's done under 164 of the IPC. That has not been done so far. The second aspect, the intention or the mens rea. In law, this facet is far more important than the act itself. You need to have the intention to commit murder. Need evidence on why Aaftab killed Shraddha, what was the key motive, what was the dominating motive. Aaftab confession stating that a heated argument led to the murder. Can he actually claim that it was a crime of rage or a fit of rage? Well, actually not. The manner in which the body was disposed of. The testimony by the doctors, parents, friends on record to show how he physically abused Shraddha. The evidence of physical abuse is not establishing murder in any way. It only establishes the character of Aaftab and how he was in that relationship. Money could be one of the key motives. The family has claimed this. Aaftab transferred money after the death of Shraddha. And was the expenses, or there were some other reasons? Let's go to the other facet. And this is about the chain of events, so what you call causation in law. This is critical to what you call circumstantial evidence. You need to piece together all the evidence together, unbroken chain of events that led to the murder from the point Shraddha was alive to the point she was dead and how her body was disposed of. Evidence inside the room from the house will be very, very critical because that's where the actual crime really happened. Investigation needs to connect all the evidence together. They need to build an unbroken chain of causation to prove this case in a court of law. Evidence beyond confession, how Aaftab disposed the body, even if let's presume that Aaftab deposes before a magistrate, records his confession and that's admissible, even then you need evidence to corroborate his statement or his confession before the magistrate. Now, so far in the investigation, 10 to 12 pieces of body have been found, but these body pieces, if the DNA test confirms belong to Shraddha, only confirm her death or murder. They do not confirm that Aaftab murdered Shraddha. For that, some kind of evidence need to be recovered from that particular room, which is allegedly the crime spot. Weapon used to dismember the body has not been found so far. This is, of course, a big hole in the investigation. Shraddha's skull has not been recovered so far. If that is recovered, it's going to be very important. But any body part, if it confirms through the DNA test that it belongs to Shraddha, it will be confirmed medically and legally that she is dead. Results of the DNA test on bones are still awaited. It will take at least a week for these results to come out. Confession to the police is not admissible in court. That is a stated proposition affirmed by various judgments of the High Court and Supreme Court, the law of the land. What you say to the police, that cannot be taken on the face value in the court. Now, with these challenges, how is it that the police is going to move forward? What is it that they are going to do? As I said, confession is not admissible in the court of law. What they have so far is only the testimony or the confession. Narco test, more importantly, so much has been spoken about the narco test, but not only you need the consent of the accused, but narco test in itself has been highly doubted by the courts. The courts frown upon this kind of test and they say you need more evidence to prove what has really come out in the narco test. The case, as I said, primarily rests on the circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is anything beyond the primary evidence. In this case, the primary evidence has been destroyed. Any weakness in the evidence can lead to the downfall of the entire case, like a house of cards. If even one brick of the chain of event is broken by the defense, then this case will not be proved. And as I said, that's the buzzword. Not just the mere fact that he was assaulting Shraddha or they had a strained relationship or he has confessed. The police needs to build a watertight case to establish that it is actually Aaftab who on that particular date strangulated Shraddha and killed her. So beyond sensationalism, what is it that is needed to secure a conviction and what are the likely scenarios in which the police really can secure a conviction? Is that possible? What do the precedents really tell us? Joining us on the broadcast is Mr. Yashwardhan Azad, the former IPS officer. We also have Mr. Tanveer Ahmed, who's a senior advocate, Dr. Ranjit Singh, who's a forensic expert, and Dr. Nisha Khanna, who's a counsellor. Mr. C.P. Singh, he's a former Sessions Court judge, is also joining us on the show. Mr. Tanveer Ahmed, I want to begin the debate with you. You've handled some very high-profile cases. You're a seasoned criminal lawyer. This entire case does bring back the memories of Arushi Talwar case as well. But what are the challenges for the police? The word circumstantial evidence, what does it mean in a case like this where the crime has been caught after months? And, many would argue that for a criminal case, for a murder case, the 24 to 48 hours and the making sure that the forensic evidence is preserved is so critical to securing a conviction in a court of law.
That's correct. I think, Madam Soni, you have already talked a lot about circumstantial evidence. What I will say for the general public at large and for your viewers is that in any criminal indictment, there is only two kinds of evidences that surface. One is a matter of ocular testimony. That means you have an eyewitness account. And if there is no eyewitness account, then the circumstances enveloping the commission of the crime are garnered, collated, and presented by the investigating authorities in the form of what we call as a charge sheet. And on that basis, then the trial ensues, the witnesses come, they depose, they try to prove these circumstances along with documents that may be collated by the investigating authorities and proved in origin. Now, the challenge in a case like this is that quintessentially, it is the cop's obligation would be that not only to show and to prove on pieces of strong circumstantial evidences that the murder happened inside the apartment, but also the desecration and the, God forbid, the chopping of the dead body also took place there. Which means that the forensic investigation, which is now being done, albeit after a considerable period of time, the forensics should labor hard and find whether they can find any stains, any white blood stains, any biological fluid which is not natural, so that the accused is then put to a strong question that why is this available in your apartment?
Okay.
Now, in this manner and mechanism, strong good forensics from CFSL Delhi or any other forensic government agency will go down to this apartment, will turn it upside down, will use the best forensic techniques, including blue light examination. What blue light does is that what is not, what you cannot see with your naked eyes, blue light can demonstrate it. For example, if you have chopped somebody and there are blood stains all over the floor, they're on the wall, they're in the crevices, they're on the chairs, somewhere, some spot, minor spot. And then once those are there, they are collected, tomorrow documented. The forensics then come to the court and prove. And therefore, what you will need to do is tie down the accused to his statement if he says tomorrow that, look here, the lady left. Now, so, I don't know who murdered her, where, and how she got chopped, God forbid, or whatever happened.
So there are two key takeaways, Mr. Ahmed. There are two key takeaways.
Stains in your apartment. Now that's a very, very strong piece of circumstance for the court tomorrow to return a finding of guilt.
Okay,
secondly,
so there are I want to take this point to Mr. Yashwardhan Azad as well. There are two key facets you're talking about. One is that evidence collected from inside the room is going to be critical because that's where the crime happened. That's where you need to establish. That's inside the apartment. Inside the apartment where allegedly the crime happened. And secondly, Mr. Azad, my question is that the confession to the police is not admissible in a court of law. We all know that. I stated that when we began the show. But why is it that the Delhi police has not recorded the statement of the accused under 164? Simply, this case completely hinges on the confession. The details that have come out in the media or have been leaked so far are all details which are allegedly from the confession of the accused, which is the core of the case. And if that is the core of the case, you need to make that confession to some degree admissible in a court of law. Mr. Azad.
Well, first of all, let me tell you that Delhi police is very well aware that the confession to the police is not admissible. Secondly, a criminal who's such a cold-blooded criminal, a congenital liar, who has talked about everything, but he has not talked about the machete, he has not talked about Shraddha's phone, who has not talked about Shraddha's skull, do you think he in front of the magistrate he'll give a statement of confession? The Delhi police very well knows what it has and what it doesn't. And you work with what you have. There have been many, many sensational cases we have seen in which the corpus delicti has not been found. There have been many cases where the offense has not been found, but a case has been made out. In this particular case, there is overwhelming circumstantial evidence. Number two, the mens rea, the intent is very clear. There is a lot of evidence pertaining to that. And number three is the hard clinching evidence of the DNA, which should be coming. It takes a while when you have these bones. And let me add that as far as the forensics are concerned, we have a forensic expert here, that our forensics have really advanced and come of age. And therefore, no matter how much you try to wipe out evidence from any place, it can come out of crevices, corners,
Mr. Azad,
carpets,
I have two questions from you. I have two questions from you. You know how investigations work better than any of us, better than me. But I want to ask you, why is it, on what basis do you say that there is enough circumstantial evidence? If you ask me, and as far as I've seen the details that have emerged out, other than the statement of the prime suspect in this case, who is the key suspect and the witness of his own crime, there is nothing else that the Delhi police has. And especially when you talk about that apartment where allegedly the crime really happened, even from there are not very clinching forensic evidence or details that have really come out that can help the Delhi police secure the investigation. Mr. Ahmed had a very important point to make, that even if you find body pieces in Mehrauli or in different parts of the country, that doesn't establish that Aaftab murdered Shraddha. Yes, Mr. Azad, please go ahead.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
DNA sampling takes a while, and when it comes to bones, it really takes time, as the forensic expert will tell you. As far as your questions pertaining to circumstantial evidence are concerned, whenever we have such investigation, we build a strong chain, that is a sequence of events, right from the part where they started from Bombay, they moved together, where they're registered as married couple, to Himachal, to the renting of the house, to the position where we say where the last seen both the people were there. Now, that can be established also by the location of both the mobiles, which is at one particular place. His mobile is already there. The cigarette butts on the body and the last 2 years, the entire evidence will also come how she was being exploited and was in an abusive relationship. So once you have established that the last scene, the person has been there, then you build up from there. Then you marshal the evidence from here. Then from the 27 Evidence Act, the recoveries which have been made. Then the DNA sampling. When you put them all together, then it becomes a body of evidence.
Exactly.
And that is what the Delhi police
No, you're
is
absolutely
trying to do.
right. And I'm glad you pointed out that the DNA evidence takes some time to come. So simply on the results awaited, we cannot form a conclusion that you have strong circumstantial evidence. That was the limited point I was trying to make.
No, DNA is separate from circumstantial evidence.
DNA can also be the circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence is totally different. You can check with any lawyer.
No.
And
we have Mr. Ahmed also on the broadcast.
And the mens rea, that is totally different.
All right. I want to bring in Mr. Dr. Ranjit Singh also, who's on the panel with us on the show. Dr. Singh, taking that point forward that Mr. Tanveer Ahmed was talking about, when it comes to forensic evidence that can be gathered from that one particular apartment where allegedly the crime happened, can you help our viewers understand that in a scenario like this, where months have passed, primarily there is nothing per se from the crime scene to be gathered, what are the tools and technologies that can be used to gather perhaps some kind of evidence in a case like this?
Yes. So the case like this, we can have two kind of evidences. One is a physical evidence, which can be gathered, or I'm sure that forensic team has collected from the apartment where he chopped the body, where he used the water to flow the blood. There is a possibility that blood might present at some places over there. And as Tanisha rightly said, that the blue light, the luminol test, by that test, we can find it out if there is some stains still present, because in several cases where they have even whitewashed the wall, they have wiped everything through the acid and other thing, it is very much recovered from the scene of crime. The body where he kept, so he kept into the fridge and wrapping into the polythene. So blood in the fridge is very tough chances that after 6 months or after 5 months, blood stains present into the fridge. But if it can be closely seen on the rubber side of the fridge where we all see that black spots, so possibility cannot be ruled out that where the blood can also be present. Apart from the physical evidence, we have to be very carefully examine the digital evidences, like digital footprint. From May 18 to till now, before he was arrested, like the phone of the Shraddha, if he was using that particular phone, either there is any normal call or was not, means he can use the Instagram, he can use his other social media from her account, chat with the people through the WhatsApp. But either there is some call. I'm sure that Shraddha must use to make a call, normal call to some close one or some relative or some office mate. Either that was happened after 18th May or not. That can be the another circumstantial evidence which prove that that incident happened on the 18th of the May. So having the digital footprint and the physical evidences both, if we can collect, and by that the blood sample which collected from the that particular flat and the body pieces which is recovered from the scene of secondary crime scene, that can be matched with the DNA, and it can establish that yes, this is the body of Shraddha, the pieces of the body of the Shraddha, and this is the sample which is collected from the incident. By that way, we can easily conclude that yes, the forensic evidence is going to be presented to the court of law.
So some kind of precision and detailing when it comes to that apartment, as Mr. Tanveer Ahmed was also pointing out, that if you're able to secure some stains of blood or some kind of samples that establishes that the body was chopped here, it was, Shraddha who was the victim, and then perhaps the case can move forward in the right direction. Before I go to Dr. Nisha Khanna, I also want to bring in Mr. C.P. Singh into the discussion, who is a former Sessions Court judge. Mr. Singh, when you see a case of this nature, and at the district court level or at the Sessions Court level, that's where the real challenge really is, because evidence is presented at this point in time. In your understanding, whatever has come out in the public domain so far, what is the biggest challenge for a case of this nature for it to move in the direction of securing a conviction by the Delhi police authorities? Mr. Singh, if I'm audible to you.
That Hello?
Yes, sir, you're audible. Please go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes. As you already said, circumstantial evidence can prove the guilt only if there is no broken chain in any case. In this case, till now, whatever has been revealed by the police or by the media, as I know, the fact is only that some body parts have been recovered at the instance of the accused. If this is the only evidence, then it cannot be said that he murdered himself. Maybe he was hiding evidence, or he was concealing evidence, or he was fabricating evidence. But to prove the guilt of murder, police has to rigorously investigate the matter, and particularly they will have to find something in his this apartment, as some my fellow brother said.
Yeah.
Yes. Unless that is there, I don't think the crime of murder can be attributed to Mr. Aaftab. And only confession, which doesn't reveal any further discovery of a new fact, the confession is useless. It cannot be used in the evidence. Till now, on his statement, only the body parts have been recovered which are yet to be proved to be of Shraddha. So I think circumstantial evidence, the last scene witnesses have to be find out. It has to be proved that both of them were together on 18th.
Yeah.
And most importantly, 18th is the date which was revealed by the Aaftab himself.
Exactly. Yeah.
But police has to go further to establish it that it was the 18th, so that the last seen witnesses can say that on 18th we saw both of them together, or they were at the same place. Then it can be proved that he was the last seen person with him at his instance. The body parts were recovered. Some forensic evidence was recovered in his apartment.
Yeah.
Then a chain can be made out.
So from the day allegedly where Aaftab has said he committed murder to the point where he committed murder and disposed of the body, that's the chain of events that we really have to look at. And any conduct prior or after that, Mr. Singh, is that going to be important? How he conducted himself after the crime, or what kind of relationship they had before the crime, the abusive pattern of the relationship?
Yes. the conduct of the accused prior to the crime may lead something to influence the mind of the judge. But after the crime, his conduct is very important. If after crime, his conduct is that which is not usual, something unusual happened. He talked something unusual to someone. He stated something to someone which indicates that some crime has been committed with Shraddha, that would be a relevant fact.
All right, sir. I want to bring in Dr. Nisha Khanna also into the discussion, sir. And you made some very important points, especially in terms of the chain of causation that need to be established and the fact that how their relationship was before the crime. Dr. Khanna, coming to you. There is ample evidence on record, testimonies, accounts, doctors, colleagues who have come forward who state how Shraddha was in an abusive relationship. She even went ahead and filed a police complaint and then backtracked and she withdrew her complaint. Some sort of compromise was worked out. But not in the spirit of blaming the victim, but one wonders aloud as a woman that when you have choices to walk out, when you're financially independent, why is it that women choose to be in abusive relationship? Is that a choice? Is that the correct word or an empathetic projection of what women go through?
I would say woman has a choice if the woman is financially independent. But the choice is not about finances only. The woman's financial independence is not only good enough. It's also about emotional independence. Because most of the time when you are living with such sort of abusers, such sort of people who are very controlling and overpowering you, such sort of individual, if you are dealing at that particular point, then you became emotionally dependent on them. You are used to their abusive cycle, which is firstly is very calm, the cycle, and then the tension period is created, and then the violence happens, and then again the honeymoon period, which is again very sweet, good memories, full of love. So this cycle of abuse is such where the most of the time women get captured. As another thing is that to the woman most of the time the society doesn't support. The society doesn't support, basically you are not able to face rejection also. In this particular case of Shraddha and Aaftab, she took the step against the parents' wish. So that's why it was not easy to accept that rejection. I chose a wrong partner. And sometimes when you are into an abusive relationship, you started accepting it. Okay, it is my destiny. I chose this person. I have to be in this relationship. I would say that because I chose it, I have no choice left. Another thing, sometimes person going through the depressive phase, the person feels hopeless, worthless, as you said it. She took a step and went to the police station, filed a complaint and then withdrew that complaint because again he convinced somehow. And she still had a hope the person will change. I think so through your channel medium, I want to say to the people, if any person who is abusive to you, physically or emotionally, you can't change the person or your love can't change the person. It is the person who will take some conscious steps to change himself or herself. So I think so the red flags, when she was able to notice, she didn't thought of that. She may thought that her love may change her.
Dr. Khanna,
or maybe that
I think
she has not loved.
I think you're making some very, very important points that need to be said aloud. One is that financial independence is just one facet of living an independent life. You need to be emotionally independent. And secondly, your love, and especially this is to women, your love cannot change an abuser. They cannot alter their behavior just because you love them. They need to do their own efforts, whether it's physical abuse or emotional abuse. And the statistics are alarming in this country, the kind of abuse women face in intimate relationships in this country. I'm short of time. I want to take in a last word from Mr. Tanveer Ahmed, who's with us on the show. Mr. Ahmed, talking to you about the evidence and coming back to it, is it possible that this alleged person, the prime suspect, or, you know, from the details that have come out, he's a psychopath, many would say, that he's lying about this entire incident? It is only on his testimony that we know the date of the crime. It is only on his testimony we know how he killed her and he chopped her body parts and he did what he did. Is it possible he's lying through all of this?
You know, this will all come out when when you have a charge sheet in this case before a court. At the moment, you know, whatever he's stating to cops in law is inadmissible. So whether he's lying or these are fireflies in air, it doesn't matter. But there is one important point I want to make.
Sure.
For example, God forbid, now we have lost the girl, like we lose so many women. There are so many things that happened. Madhya Pradesh, you saw how a man chopped his girlfriend and recorded it and telecasted it all over the world. What is important for the cops is that if they're not able to find lynching evidence from the apartment, try and find CCTV footages like Nirbhaya. When Nirbhaya, God forbid, was raped and almost butchered apart, the cops were able to find the best of the bus on the transit. And the bus was just going on.
Yeah.
So what cops should do is try and find out CCTV footages from nearby places or where possibly the routes he took, so that he can be found in transit carrying something on his hand. And tomorrow a question can be asked by a court that, Mr. Aaftab, this CCTV footage is there. You seem to be carrying a bag in your hand or something suspicious activity, or if he has taken, certain routes or he has gone to certain places which are not in his usual routine. Then a lot of answering will be required to be done.
Sure.
So let's hope that the cops are able to find good forensic evidence, because the duty that we do to the society is not to, relegate this to speculation or anything else, but first come first, investigate hard, vigorously, and try to serve the justice in this case. Ultimately, the murder is a foul crime and it's a crime against the society.
Absolutely.
Therefore, we are obligated to deliver justice.
Absolutely. And that's the tone and tenor in which we've tried to present this entire show. What is the evidence that the police can collect? What is it that the other high-profile investigations have told us? And as most of our eminent panelists pointed out, there's something to be learned from what has happened in the past, from the earlier cases. And what are the critical areas that perhaps the police needs to address? And Dr. Nisha Khanna making some very important points when it comes to intimate relationship and violence. Those are the different contours of the debate. I thank Mr. Yashovardhan Azad, Tanveer Ahmed, Dr. Ranjit Singh, Dr. Nisha Khanna, and Mr. C.P. Singh for joining us on the broadcast. Thank you so much. Here's a special conversation that we're presenting to you. We have with us on the broadcast Karan, who's Shraddha's colleague. Now, back in 2020, Shraddha had reached out to Karan seeking help because she was facing physical abuse. Karan, thank you so much for your time and for reaching out and for speaking on this issue. I want to know from you, when is it that Shraddha reached out to you first? What kind of help she sought from you? And in what capacity did you know her and for how long?
Finally, in the month of November 2020, what happened is she was beaten very badly by Aaftab. And she then, actually called me telling me that, I can't report to work. My state is not good. So I asked her to send me a picture. So that I wanted to make sure that, everything was okay and she was not hurt that bad. And unfortunately, the picture she sent me, she was really hurt very bad under her right eye. There was a black patch. There were bruises on her neck. And that's when, I reached out to Godwin. He's one of my friends from Vasai, where Shraddha was residing at that point of time. So Godwin, along with his friend and help of Mahila Mandal, took Shraddha to the nearest police station to file a police complaint, where Shraddha actually gave a written complaint against Aaftab. And after that, Godwin took her to the hospital to get her treated because she was hurt very bad.
Yeah.
Then suddenly, I don't know what happened, what Aaftab told or promised Shraddha. But then she messaged me stating that she visited Aaftab's house where his parents were living. And they promised her that Aaftab will no longer live with her and he will no longer be part of her life and he will never harass her. So at that point of time, she was very happy that finally things are falling in place and this guy will be moving out and she will get out of the abusive relationship.
Yeah.
But for the next 2 months, again, next 2 or 3 months, she did not report to office, but she was working from home. Before that, what happened is after the incident of November, in the first week of December, Shraddha actually got hospitalized because of the beating she had, gotten from Aaftab. And she had badly hurt her back and her neck, due to which she had to get hospitalized. Plus,
One wonders, Karan, that why did Shraddha withdraw her complaint? I mean, she went to the police station, she gave a written complaint, but she withdrew. And more importantly, what you're saying also establishes that Aaftab's parents were aware of his conduct and violence towards Shraddha all along.
Absolutely, absolutely. They were very well aware about what their son was doing with her. Because, as I mentioned, this was in November was the first time when she opened up and she spoke to me about the domestic violence and the trauma that she was going through. But after that day when I spoke to Shraddha, over the phone, that's when she opened up and she told me, the reason I was not reporting to work for the last couple of days, I was taking so many leaves, is because of this reason, that he was beating me very badly and I was not in the state to report to work. She was actually traumatized.
Yeah.
Plus, you could actually make out by looking at her first face that she was moving into depression because of this reason. But somewhere or the other.
Yep, yep. Karan, I appreciate that you've come out in the public domain. I appreciate that you're narrating this story, because this does add some very important information about what Shraddha went through, how that relationship was, and what led to this gruesome murder. And as we pointed out during the discussion, evidence, circumstantial evidence, the forensic evidence is going to be the deal breaker in this entire case, which the Delhi police is investigating right now. Stepping into a very short break.